How do you say strawberry?
We're in an interesting week. I think we're a week off Eretz Yisrael. In terms of the Parsha Yak, I think we're a week off Eretz Yisrael because the second day Shavuos for us, was Shavuos. So we did not, the second day Shavuos was Shabbos Kodesh, but Shabbos is amazingly hospitable, and Shabbos gives way to Shavuos. So we did not lane the Parsha Shavua, we lane the Kriya for Shavuos. In Eretz Yisrael, of course, there's only one day Shavuos, the second day was Shabbos, and they lane Parshas Naso. So it's a little confusing. In Eretz Yisrael this week, they're up to Parshas Baloischa. In Chutz La'aretz, we're reading this week Naso. So we're a week off. When do we catch up, Rav Ezi?
I would have to say, I don't know.
Matas Masei. Matas Masei. I don't know.
I'll figure it out.
I don't know when we're catching up, but right now we're a week behind. Eretz Yisrael is up to Parshas Baloischa, we're up to Parshas Naso. It's interesting, Shaila, if Reuven Yonah was allowed a lane in yeshiva. I feel yes, others felt no. Yaakov, interesting Shaila, if Reuven Yonah was allowed a lane the second day Shavuos, he did not. I felt he was allowed to. I don't look to say he has no chayvas kriya. It's not a chayv of any yachid. He's not Elamai. There's a chayvas tzibur, but he's not part of the tzibur. Reuven Yonah is an Eretz Yisrael dicker who keeps his bias in Eretz Yisrael. So there'll be a fascinating halachic shaila. Was he allowed a lane for us the second day Shavuos? That was not his chayvas kriya. His chayvas kriya was to lane Parshas Naso. Our chayvas kriya was the chayva of Shavuos. Could Ben Eretz Yisrael, it's not Shavuos, lane the kriya of Shavuos. It's an interesting shaila. Is he being mitzi us? I'm not sure he's being mitzi us a chayv of the tzibur. Very interesting shaila. On the other hand, even if he's not being mitzi us, there's a din on the tzibur, and he's not in that way, not bichlal the tzibur. Very Elio, very fascinating shaila was Reuven Yonah. It was relevant in this base medrash. We did it miyos toiv al tikri ra. We did it as a chumrah, a little bit like we didn't get a psak. So what we did, we had somebody else lane. Lemais, a very interesting shaila. It's very fundamental to Kriyas HaTorah. Like it's good shailas. Was Reuven Yonah let a lane the Kriya of Shavuos for us? It would be the same shaila if we were in yeshiva this week. This is much more makel. This is, even if you say Reuven Yonah couldn't read the Shavuos lane because it's not Shavuos, could he read Naso? That's pashut, he can. That's pashut. This saber, that nobody would, I don't think anybody would even be machmir. We'll let Reuven Yonah, we are maketayv to Reuven Yonah, and we'll come back to yeshiva in 2 weeks. It's going to be here, Parshas Baloischa. I don't think anybody would mind the Ben Eretz Yisrael to read Parshas Baloischa. He has a chayvas kriya. We're up to Baloischa. I don't think anybody would be makbid. The second day Shavuos is a cool shaila, Leo, that we had in this space medrash because of this. So it's a cool shaila. My gut is that it would have been fine for him to read it. We didn't have him read it. We figured let somebody who has a chiyuv read it. My gut would be fine. Yeah, that's what I suspected. If we have to be ma'ayin. No. The Nezrei Shir is as he's a sensitive Talmud Chacham. It needs bir. I'm sure it's brought. We have to be ma'ayin. What the halach is. A cool shayla happened. L'maisem and Parshas Naso. All this is an introduction that in Chutz La'aretz this week we're reading Parshas Naso. In Parshas Naso, it brings Birchas Kohanim. And the psukim say, Dabra alarm belban of Lamar, Koisavarchos B'nai Yisrael, as follows, you should bench Klal Yisrael, and Marlem, and say to Klal Yisrael as follows, and it brings Yivarechacha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Yara Hashem panav elech v'chanecha, Yisa Hashem panav elech v'yasem l'chashalim. It brings the words of Birchas Kohanim. It brings the word here. Now, after Birchas Kohanim, it says, V'samu es shemi al b'nei Yisrael, place my name on Klal Yisrael. The Iker Din of Birchas Kohanim. When we had a Beis Hamikdash, the Kohanim would say the Shem HaMefurish. In Birchas Kohanim, they would say the Shem Hashem that we no longer utter. But in the Beis Hamikdash, they would say the Shem HaMefurish, which is the words V'samu Shmi al Bnei Yisrael. Place my name on Klal Yisrael. Say the Shem HaMefurish. Today they say the bracha Yivarechecha Hashem. They say Yivarechecha Hashem. They don't say the same HaMefurish, but it says place my name on Klal Yisrael V'ani avarchem, and I will bench them. Now the Gemara Chulin Daf Mem Tes brings a machlokes Rabbi Yishmael against Rabbi Kiva what the translation of this verse is. Place my name on Klal Yisrael V'ani avarchem, and I will bench them. So machlokes Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Yishmael says that Rabbi Yishmael learns, and I want to study each one and pull out something from Rabbi Yishmael, from Rabbi Kiva. It's a Kedai Gemara for everybody to see. I would advise, you have a little time over Shabbos if you don't make time. It's a very Kedai Gemara to study, Memtes Amar Aleph and Chulin. And the Gemara brings this machlokes Tanaim, how to translate a pasuk in Chumash. The pasuk says, place my name on Klal Yisrael and I will bench them. Comes Rabbi Yishmael, and Rabbi Yishmael says that Ani Avarch means I'll bench the Kohanim. Somewhere Shmi al Bnei Yisrael, you put my name on them, which means use my name, the Shem HaMefurish, to bench Klal Yisrael. V'ani avarchem, I'll bench. Who's going to bench the Kohanim? Doch. Ani avarchem, I'll bench the Kohanim. That's what Rabbi Yishmael says. Hashem will bench the Kohanim. You place my name on Klal Yisrael, and I'll bench the Kohanim. That's what it means with somewhere Shmi al Bnei Yisrael. According, Rabbi Kiva says, Ani avarchem means Hashem's maskim. Rabbi Kiva argues on Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yishmael translates, "B'samweh Shmi al Bnei Yisrael, you put my name on Klal Yisrael, v'ani avarchem, and I will bench them." The them is the Kohanim. Came out like a midah keneged midah. You bench Klal Yisrael. Now it's not fair. Who benches the Kohanim? Ani avarchem. That's what Rabbi Yishmael learns. I'll bench the Kohanim. You bench Klal Yisrael. I'll bench the Kohanim. So that's how Rabbi Yishmael learns the pasuk V'ani avarchem. V'samweh Shmi al Bnei Yisrael. Place my name on Klal Yisrael. Dahainu, give the brachos b'shem Hashem. But now you say, who's going to bench the Kohanim? That's not fair. They benched us. V'ani avarchem, and I will bench them. Hashem alone benches the Kohanim. That's Rabbi Yishmael says pshat in the pasuk. Rabbi Kiva says no. Place my name on Klal Yisrael, and I'll bless Klal Yisrael. Very fascinating pshat in the pasuk. You put my name on them, and I'll bench Klal Yisrael. I thought the Kohanim, Kaisev Baruch was Bnei Yisrael, the Kohanim bench us. Somehow the pasuk says Hashem is benching us. Very confusing, Rabbi Kiva. What's happening, Rabbi Kiva? The pasuk says Daber alarm el banav lemer Kaisev Baruch was Bnei Yisrael. You bench Klal Yisrael as follows. Then it's Kaisev Baruch, they're benching us. And then the parsha ends, place my name on Klal Yisrael, I'll bench them. What's happening? Did Hashem bench us or the Kohanim bench us? So there's a gorgeous Lashon Shel Zav of the Rambam. Listen to the Lashon Shel Zav of the Rambam. Beautiful golden Rambam to be aware of at Birchas Kohanim. I think this affects other areas and places of our life. I'd like to read this Rambam together with the Chevra. It's in Perek Tesvav. According to Rabbi Kiva, Ani avarchem means Hashem will bench Klal Yisrael.
And that's not Kishma?
I'm just asking that it says you bench Klal Yisrael. Kaisev Baruch Bnei Yisrael. It starts out, Daber alarm vel banav lemer, so shall you bench Klal Yisrael. And I'm not really asking a steer. I'm not looking to, you'll see the Rambam explains what's happening. I can imagine everybody's like mechavin. The pasuk says, "So shall you bless Klal Yisrael, Kohanim," and it ends off, "Put my name on them, and I'll bless them." So, you'll say the Rambam. I'm not. It sounds like the Kohanim blessing was Hashem blessing. Says the Rambam.
The subject of the pasuk is Klal Yisrael, not the Kohanim.
Right.
Subject of the
Rabbi Kiva in the
pasuk-
Pshat and the Pasuk's very geschmack. Because somewhere Shmi al Bnei Yisrael place my name on Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael is the subject of the sentence. V'ani avarchem. According to Rabbi Yishmael, the Kohanim are the subject because somewhere Shmi al Bnei Yisrael is talking about the Kohanim. Kohanim place my name on. There's an unspoken Kohanim. V'samu who should be v'samu Kohanim. So Rabbi Yishmael learned. Place my name on Bnei Yisrael, and I will bench them as the Kohanim. You bench Klal Yisrael, and I'll bench you. Rabbi Kiva learns bench Klal Yisrael, and I will bench them.
What's the pasuk again?
V'samu eshmi al Bnei Yisrael, put my name on Klal Yisrael, v'ani avarchem, and I will bench them. That's a machlokes. Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Kiva, I will bench who? Rabbi Yishmael says, I'll bench the Kohanim. You put my name in Klal Yisrael, Dahainu, you give a bracha in my name to Klal Yisrael, and in turn I will bench you the Kohanim. That's the them, is the Kohanim.
Why
That's
would
what
it say you then?
it says, Ani avarchem, I will bench them. Who's the them? So according to Rabbi Yishmael, the them is the Kohanim.
It makes less sense.
I agree with you that the subject, like according to the way we would simply read the pasuk, sounds like Rabbi Kiva's more in the pshutai. Rabbi Yishmael learned that Ani avarchem is I will bench the Kohanim. You put my name on Klal Yisrael, Ani avarchem, and then in turn I will bench them. Dainu the Kohanim.
So where would it say? You would say them.
Confusing
sounds
to
like
me.
it's going on-
Who's the them? But all these psukim, it's almost like Vani Avarchem goes all the way back, Dabrel to the Kohanim. Dabrel Aaron Balbanov. Tell Aaron and his sons to do all this. And then he concludes almost like Vani Avarchem. Yaakov, I understood like Vani Avarchem, according to this, doesn't really go back on the pasuk, it goes back on the parsha. The Kohanim u'mitzvah to do all this, and I'll bench them. Who's the them? The ones I've been talking to in this whole Dabra Alar and Velbanav. So that's this. The parsha ends with this. There's a samach. So Ani Avarchem is who is this? I will bench them. The subject of this whole parsha is the Kohanim. Speak. Hashem said to Moshe, tell the Kohanim as follows. They should do all this. And the parsha concludes, and I will bench them. The them is the ones who should do all this. The Kohanim. That's how Rabbi Yishmael learns. Rabbi Kiva, within this pasuk, I admit, it sounds like Rabbi Kiva. Vani avarchem, he says, place my name on Klal Yisrael, and I'll bench them. The them of this pasuk is Klal Yisrael. The them of this parsha is the Kohanim. That's how I see it. L'maisa machlokes Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Kiva. I'm sure there's an oimek what the shorish. I do not know the shorish of machlokes. Rabbi Yishmael says Ani avarchem is I will bench the Kohanim. They bench Klal Yisrael, I'll bench them. Rabbi Kiva says I'll bench Klal Yisrael. Now listen to this golden Rambam. On Rabbi Kiva, we're left to wonder. Hashem says bench Klal Yisrael, and I'll bench Klal Yisrael. Now clearly somehow them benching affects. Listen to the way the Rambam says it. The Rambam in Perek Tesvav of Hilchas Tefillah, the Rambam goes through rules of things, Averis and the like, that make a Kohen ineligible to bench. He brings Averis, the Rambam it's Kedai to say this. Over Shabbos, maybe I should read it to the Chevra. The Rambam has 6 things that make a Kohen puzzle to bench Klal Yisrael. He brings 6 things and he elaborates on these 6 things. There's certain Averis, certain sins that make a guy ineligible to go up to do Birchas Kohanim. There's certain wounds, mumim, that make a person ineligible. He has to know Lashon Kodesh. There are rules. There are rules. He has also speech impediments. That's not allowed to be. It's very interesting. There are speech impediments that make a person not eligible to do Birchas Kohanim. The Rambam says certain people who can't pronounce certain words, they read an aleph and ayin and aleph. They have a certain type of I thank my parents when I was younger, I had a lisp. I had a pronounced lisp. And there's certain lisp, if they say shiboiles, siboiles, he says they're not allowed to duchen. A kohen who has a lisp, it's not allowed to duchen. Very fascinating halachos of duchening, that it's very important that they say the words right. Kvedei peh. It's interesting, with Moshe wasn't the Kohen, but with Moshe been eligible, he's a kvad peh. And it says a kvad peh, ein nois neskapeim, cannot duchen. Their halacha is to duchen, who's eligible and who's not. Very interesting to see the Rambams. So there's certain speech impediments that can't duchen, certain mumim, certain wounds that can't duchen, certain averis that can't duchen. Ages, how old they have to be, their age requirements to duchen, and the Rambam speaks those out. There's Toma, and the Rambam speaks those out. So after the Rambam speaks out very fascinating the requirements to duchen, he says a kohen who doesn't have any of those problems, kohen shloi hoyloi davar mikol elu advar mamoinim es nesias kapayim, a kohen who doesn't have any of those things that hold him back from duchening, afa pi she'enoi chacham, he's not a Talmud chacham, ve'enoi medaktek b'mitzvahs, as long as he doesn't have those averos that render him ineligible, but he's not a medaktek. Or Aisha Yabriyas Miranan Nachrav, where people aren't so into him. Aisha Loya Masoy Matnoy B'Tzedek. He's not exactly the best guy on planet Earth. Says the Rambam, Zen Noiseas Kapov. The person should still duchen. Vein Mainan say, don't stop him. Because some mitzvahs I say, I'll call Koyin v'Koyin. Sharoil in Siyas Kapayim. It's a mitzvah say. We had when I was a youngster, Yak, at Yeshiva Farakaway, a poor guy showed up to Yeshiva. He slept in the Yeshiva. It was a very bizarre story. He had very rich clothing. And it was like a big toll. He had a whole story of who he was. He had a story about himself, like a very dramatic story. He was a big pella to the chevra because his clothing was the clothing of a millionaire, except he was homeless. And he had a whole story, what happened to him. Nobody knew if it was true, if it was not true. Achi Agadol, my brother, my older brother, was a wonderful person. What?
Yeah.
My brother brought him home for a night to sleep. My brother felt so bad for him. My parents, the tzaddikim, loved my brother and loved his achnasa sarchim, but felt it was dangerous for the family. So they convinced him not to bring him home. That's not safe. You can't bring anybody to the house. I saw my brother leave the next night. He was running to Yeshiva. He put a cat that the guy shouldn't sleep alone. He slept in Yeshiva also. What the guy, it was a complicated seeper who this fellow was. But this guy was around the Yom Tov. I have to ask Achi what Yom Tov was around. He insisted that he's allowed to be Noisik Apayim, that he's a Kohen. Now nobody knew when he was like a fishy guy. There was like a tumult in Yeshiva. Was he allowed? Were we allowed to assume he's a Kohen or not? It's relevant that the Siyas Kapayim, you make a bracha. The shaylas here, Lemaisa was a big suffix. Was this guy a Kohen or not? The Rambam says if somebody's not such a tzaddik, he's not a medaktek b'mitzvahs. The Rambam says he's noises kapov. The guy should duchen, and don't stop him, because the mitzvahs I say I'll call Kohen the Kohen. It's the mitzvahs I say on every Kohen. That's royal in the Siyas Kapayim. Vein Aimrim la'adam Rasha, golden language of the Rambam. Says the Rambam Tzir Shalmi in Gittin, this is based on this Rambam. Ein Aimrim la'adam Rasha, you don't say to a Rasha, Haisif Resha, v'himana min ha-mitzvahs. You don't say to a guy who already has Averis, do more Averis. He has a mitzvah to bench. Don't tell him, well, you're not such a good guy. Just because he has some Averis, don't make him do more Averis. He's mitzvah. Then the Rambam says, V'al tetame. You have a pella. The timer, mat tayil brachas head yitzeh. This guy's a Baal Avera. What does his bracha help? You might be mitam Eliyahu. You might ask, what's this guy's Bishleim? The guy's a tzaddik. The guy's a kohen at tzaddik. So his bracha is powerful. You're fired up for his bracha. But this hedyot who's a Baal Avera, people, he's not so geshmak. So make it tasik. Al tetamen, to say what's his bracha going to help? She'en kibla bracha toli b'kehanim. Says the Rambam that the kibla bracha is not dependent on El Bakadosh Baruch Hu. The real bracha is dependent on Hashem. Shenemar v'samwe shmi al b'nei Yisrael v'ani avarchem. The Rambam's paskening like Rabbi Kiva. And the Rambam says that the real bracha comes from Hashem Himself. HaKohanim oisim mitzvah shenitztavu ba. The Kohanim do their mitzvah. VaKadosh Baruch Hu biracham u'mivarech Yisrael kecheftzei. And then Hashem shines through the Kohanim. The Kohen does his mitzvah. And Hashem shines through. HaKadosh Baruch Hu biracham u'mivarech Yisrael kecheftzei. The Kohen's the shliach Hashem. So the Kohanim does his sivui. He does what he's supposed to. Vani avarchem, and then Hashem benches. He's doing kechefsai, and then Hashem brings a shefa of bracha. So never question the strength of the Kohen. Never wonder to what power does this Kohen have. The answer is he's doing mitzvasai, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu shines. HaKohanim oisim mitzvah shenitztavu bo. HaKadosh Baruch Hu birach mevarech Yisrael kechefsai. I want to say, I ask every guy, put your holy eyes on this Rambam. If I was more like Akiva Balls and better prepared, you would all have in front of you Rambam Perek Tesvav Allah Chazayin. And I want to say something to the guys. All of us are called Kohanim. Klal Yisrael is called a Mamleches Kohanim, a nation of Kohanim. We all have things. Every morning we wash our hand at Tilas Yadayim like the Kohen does Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglayim in the Mikdash. We do a lot of things. Everybody, we're Mamleches Kohanim. What's true by Kohanim and what we see by Kohanim, there are many areas. Reb Miller extensively talked about this, about a person viewing and seeing many halachas that are said by a Kohen, finding inspiration, Chol Yachid V'Yachid, who as a nation, what the Kohanim are to us, we are to the world. We're Mamleches Kohanim, a nation of Kohanim. And much that is written by a Kohen, we're supposed to study and learn from as a Mamleches Kohanim, a nation who has Kuna in us, in every single person. Of course, us Kohanim have our Yechidim that are Kohen for our nation, but we all have Kuna in us. In this Rambam, there's something very powerful that I think, Elio, there's something in this Rambam that's very, very empowering. Elio, I want to read you the Rambam again, Eli. There's something, Elio, in this Rambam that I think is invigorating. If I could read it again and ask you if this hits you, it certainly hits me. The Rambam asks, like, Al Tatame, this guy is being mevarachas. What's so hot about his bracha? He's a shtickle bal avera. What's so hot? Says the Rambam, Shein kibla bracha tolu b'kohanim. It's not coming from him. El ba'kodesh baruch hu. It's coming from Hashem, like it says, v'samwe shmi al b'nei Yisrael v'ani avarchem, like Rabbi Kiva. I'm benching them. HaKohanim oisin mitzvah shenitztavu ba. They do theirs, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mivarech Yisrael kechefsli. They become a conduit, a vehicle. They're doing theirs. They're doing their tzivui. They're doing their mitzvahs. They're what they can do, what they're commanded to do, and then they have the koyach of Hashem that shines forth. I was reading about Reb Chaim. I was reading a lot when Reb Chaim Kanievsky was nifter. I was reading a lot about Reb Chaim. Much was written very distant from him. Much of what I read didn't resonate by me. I was able to see that it was people who didn't know him, people who weren't close. The article that most made an impression on me, it was nicker to me that the Talmud was very, very close to him who wrote the article. And it was written from an unusual place of somebody who really seemed to be close to him. The person said something that resonated a lot. The person described the way he answered people. It was clear that deeper than the brilliance, and certainly there was brilliance and a knowledge that was amazing, but there was a siyata d'shmaya. This person close to him saw and said that, expressed that Reb Chaim expressed such things, that his answers came from a place he was trusted. Rabbi Silverman today at Mishulam Siyam spoke about this, that since he was a Gadol Adar, a leader of Klal Yisrael, he had siyata d'shmaya to help Klal Yisrael. He was doing his, and Hashem assisted him. He would say things, and he knew the siyata d'shmaya, that try your best and you're plugged into it. You'll say what Hashem wants you to say. And there were countless stories, and even the way he would answer in Torah, he had the awareness that he's doing what he can, and then it's the Shmaya Ani Avarchem. This Kayach, the Rambam says to Kohanim, we're all a Mamleches Kohanim. This Bechena that is true by Kohanim, that they do what their mitzvah, Ani Avarchem. You might ask your own limitations or somebody else's limitations. And the answer is, they do what their Kohanim oisim mitzvah shenitztavu. They do theirs, and Akash Baruch Mirachim Mivarach Yisrael kecheftzai. They become a vehicle. Hashem has all the power in the world of bracha. This Kayin does what he's mitzvah to do, and from him comes a force of bracha. There's a tremendous chizuk in each person that taps into the Kayin that we all are Mamleches Kohanim, and does what we can. You'll have many times in your life you feel inadequacies. Am I worthy of this? What can I really do? How can I really help? In what way can I really accomplish? This word of the Rambam, this Lashon Shel Zav, it's Yerushalmi in Gittin, in actuality, but the Rambam beautifully captures this Yerushalmi, that the person's Aisim Mitzvah Shenitztavu. Hashem was mitzvah the human being to do his Vani Avarchem, and when the Yid does his, then Hashem through him, he becomes a vehicle of tremendous bracha that Ani Avarchem. Hashem will bench a person much more me'al from what's in the Kayin. In a certain way, he has endless kaychas in the Kayin. From doing what loyally he's supposed to do, he becomes a conduit for all the bracha that Hashem wants to give another Yid. And Hashem was mitzvah him, you give a bracha. There's something so empowering. The next time, Birchas Kohanim. Over the Shabbos, please learn these beautiful words of the Rambam, Perek Tesvav, Halacha Zayin, beautiful words. It's Halacha Vav and Zayin. The beautiful words, and the next time you go to Birchas Kohanim, understand that the Kohen's benching, and the bracha is huge. Birchas Kohanim, he has a mitzvah to bench us. Perhaps the Minchas Chinuch brings a Sefer Charedim, maybe, that Yisrael is mitzvah to get benched, but he's mitzvah to bench us. We may have a tzivui to get benched, and you have a natural thought, a big deal. What's his? I go to a gadol, a bracha of a gadol. What's his bracha? Now you could have just answered, Alte Birchas Hedyet Kal Beinecha. But the Rambam, based on the Yerushalmi, says stronger. He says Hashem wants to give us tremendous bracha. And he does his sivui, his flow, his sivui. Hashem was mitzvah him, and he becomes a conduit of bracha much more powerful that's in him. Because he did what he's mitzvah, and then Hashem through him will pour shefa of bracha on the tzibur. He did what he's mitzvah, and through him will come much bracha. What I want to say to a Mamleches Kohanim, a nation of Kohanim in our own lives, I want to say that we do what we're mitzvah. The chesed we're mitzvah, the care, the kindness to others, and you'll have many times where you feel deficient. What can I really do? Can I really help? Can I really solve? The Kohen himself, the Hedyot is watching the Kohen Alein, will ask himself, what can I really do? I'm so limited. How much is in me already? Does it really matter? And the answer is Ani Avarchem. This word that Hashem says by the Kohanim. A person does what he's mitzvah. And then from him comes bracha much more powerful than anything in him. Ani Avarchem. Greater than anything he shayach, a shefa bracha comes through him. This Rambam Shloimeh to me is invigorating. It's exciting, it's invigorating. And it's Dvarim Pshutim that this is the Kayach of the Kayin, who's the impactor, who's the Yer Mishpatech LeYaakov, who's the teacher of Torah. That this is the way this bracha comes, everything by Hashem is exact, and that this is how Hashem set it up. That he asks a human being, Kaisavarchu es B'nai Yisrael, bench them. And Shema you'll say, but I'm limited, but who am I? Somewhere Shmiel B'nai Yisrael V'ani Avarchem. When you do matzuvah alecha, I will come in turn and bring a shefa of bracha through you that's me'al klicha, more than your kayach, but of course you're accessing that which Hashem wants to do, and when you give your bracha and you do yours, masha Hashem will through you bring tremendous shefa of bracha, b'dafka through the kayin. It does Hashem, that's how Hashem works. Hashem could just have no Kohanim go up there and say everybody gets blessed by Hashem. No. The Kohanim have tzivu koisivarchu es b'nei Yisrael, and this is b'dafka how Hashem wanted the tzura to be. There's a tzibur. I want you Kohanim get up there and give a bracha. And when you give a bracha, I will give a shefa bracha me'al that's more than your kayach, that's more than what's in you. So I wanted to share this Rambam. I wanted to keep learning Rabbi Kiva, another point of Rabbi Kiva that the Gemara says. The Gemara asks in Rabbi Kiva and Chulin. So according to Rabbi Yishmael, very gishmak, the Kayin benches us and he gets benched. But according to Rabbi Kiva, it's a pella. The Kayin benches us. Remember, Ani Avarchei means Hashem benches Klal Yisrael. So where does your Kayin Elio? Oh, okay. We still have to know this. So where did the Kohanim get benched? According to Rabbi Kiva, they bench Kaisavarchu as B'nai Yisrael. It's interesting, Aaron. I wondered that. Aaron asked, what's the Gemara handling? Where do the Kohanim get benched? When they say Yivarecha Hashem, doesn't it go on them also? I don't know. It's interesting. Aaron asked, each Kayin benches, who's a Kayin here? Do you have in mind the other Kohanim? It sounds like not yet. Aaron is, it's a shtickle mevur or not. Because if they have in mind the other Kohanim, what's the Gemara asking? L'chayr their brachas on them also, but the Kohanim are mitzvah kaisavarchu es b'nei Yisrael. It's not on them. They're giving up and giving to Klal Yisrael, not on them. Azay vayis, unless I'm missing something, Aaron, the very sugya sounds like they're not benching themselves, Shleima. Rabbi Yishmael says they get benched, Ani Avarchem, they bench Klal Yisrael, I bench them. Rabbi Kiva says Ani Avarchem means you bench Klal Yisrael, and I in turn will give tremendous bracha to Klal Yisrael, greater than's in you to give. What?
Meaning Kohanim are included in Klal Yisrael and Ani Avarchem.
Yeah, he's not learning that with Rabbi Kiva. The Gemara asks this from Rabbi Kiva. The Gemara in Chulin asks, Lefir Rabbi Kiva, how do we know they get benched? Huh? That's the Gemara answer. It's very good, Mark. It says by Avram Avinu, "Va'avarchecha mevarchecha." I will bench those that bench you. I will bench those that bench you. It's funny. I see here quotes the Gemara. I thought that was a Taisus. The Gemara says this. Here he quotes it from the Gemara. Amar Reb Nachman Yitzchak, "Va'avarcha mevarchecha." Funny, I saw a Tosfos quote that I didn't remember. I forgot that the Gemara says this. Reb Nachman says that according to Rabbi Kiva, you know where the Kohanim get benched? Because it says, I will bench those that bench you by Avram Avinu. Since it says by Avram Avinu, I will bench those that bench you, so Klal Yisrael benches Kohanim bench Klal Yisrael, so they have the promise to Avram Avinu. Whoever benches you, I will bench, which is rather fascinating. Pashup Pshat in that pasuk before Reb Nachman came along, I will bench those that bench you, was said to Avram Avinu in Parshas Lech Lecha. Whoever benches Avram will get benched. Comes the Gemara and it says it's on every single yid. Every single yid, if you bench a yid, you get benched. The Makar, according to Rabbi Kiva, that the Kohanim get benched is Hashem designed the world. That if you bench a yid, you get benched. There's a Maral. The Maral says Hashem's a Magen Avram. Hashem protects Avram. Means we all have a shtick Avram inside of us, and He protects all of Klal Yisrael. Is the Magen Avram? Is the shield of Avram? Is every yid? This Gemara, Reb Nachman says that if you bench a yid, it's bichlal avarcha mivarchecha. I will bench those that bench you. So a yid benches another yid, he gets benched. That's how it works. So that promise of Hashem to Avram, that if you bench a yid, you get benched. If you bench Avram, you get benched, applies if you bench any yid is a promise. I will bench those that bench you. So the bracha to the Kohanim is, since the Kohanim Koisivarchu es Bnei Yisrael, they bench Klal Yisrael, they now are Zayche v'avarcha mevarchecha. I bench those that bench you. So if you bench a Yid, you give a bracha to a Yid, you get the bracha that Hashem promised Avram. You benched a Zera Avram, a child of Avram. Hashem promised those that bench Avram get benched. Every Yid is included in that promise. V'avarcha mevarchecha. I will bench a blesser of you. To bless Avram's children, thus haste the blesser of Avram. Somehow that's included in Avarcha mevarchecha. That's open in the Gemara, that so the Kohanim, since they bench Klal Yisrael, according to Rabbi Kiva, the source they get benched is Avarcha mevarchecha. Amazing thing that a person wants bracha. We all want brachas from Hashem. People want brachas. To get a bracha from a gadol of Adda, birchas, bracha b'tzad counts. If you want a bracha from God, bench a Yid. If you've been shine, if you give a bracha, Reb Miller always encouraged people to bench Yidden. Reb Miller ki yadua was nayig. A Yid passed by, he would give a bracha. If he would tell them, if a lady came by in a carriage, he would give like a bracha for the child. He'd whisper a bracha to Hashem. It's a very, very geshmaka habit. A person's bichlal v'avarcha mevarchecha. Those that bench Yidden, I will bench. Those that bench Yidden are zeichet to a matz of a bracha from Hashem. And that's the source, according to Rabbi Kiva, that Kohanim get benched back, is since they bench, they get benched.
Where do we small claim has like how it's blessed by itself without a
No, anything we could do in the world comes from Hashem, no question. That lesson, that specific of the pasuk's not coming to say, to be madgish this point, anything we could do comes from Hashem. According to Bishmal Ani Avarchim, just refers to what Hashem does back to them. They bench us. The same Rambam is just not said in the pasuk, this idea. According to Rabbi Kiva, the pasuk itself is saying they just do, and then through him, Ani Avarchim, Al Tatame, this whole thing, that's what the pasuk is saying, according to Rabbi Kiva. According to Rabbi Shmuel, the pasuk's not saying that.
other things we do, the person does it, and he's got the Shnaya, bracha, it's hard for the person to do anything. Well, what the person doing is not halal, Hashem, not other examples of anything you do, he's got the Shnaya, the person does it, he's got the Shnaya, it comes to bracha the father, the person doesn't entitle bracha. What's the obvious to the pasuk examples?
But I'm not sure. What do you ask one more time?
The bracha doesn't, it's not, anything a person does Yishat B'Shnai. The bracha, the person can do it in the cloud. Kelos of bracha, the person doesn't give anything to bracha.
So you're saying inherent in the brachas you need?
What is the person doing? What's the person doing a good job? He doesn't give him a good job. It's like almost a Rabbi Shukri. Why do we need a pasuk tell us? Something else that Yishat B'Shnai was good. It's a Kalish, it's talking to Hashem. Even though it seems to be the person.
Interesting. I would ask, this is what I would say back to that, Yak. The Rambam, when he says, the Rambam says, Al Tatame, Mato Birchas Hed Yitzed, he's talking about a guy who's not medaktik b'mitzvahs. There's some anacha that a person who's medaktik in mitzvahs has a power to vinch good for people. That there's such a anacha, otherwise what's the Al Tatame? There's a normal koyach that's there, that exists, that a person has. That's like a anacha, the sugya. I agree. Yaakov's like saying this whole anacha. The Ram's Al Tatame, such a person, he asks on a guy who's not medaktik b'mitzvahs. It's funny the Ram missed that he could have asked Al Tatame, what does the brach help? there's like a hanacha that a person who's a medaktik b'mitzvahs is a certain connected to Hashem in some way that Hashem allows him to give out shefa, that he could give out bracha on a person medaktik. A guy, somehow the mashal would be to me, somebody who's close to the melech. So beseder, he has some ins with the melech, he could give stuff and the melech will back. Begeder like tzaddik goyz v'kosh baruch hu mekayim. That's like the hanacha of these brachas. So if the person's good, there's anacha. That's in the way Rabbi Yishmael is learning the pasuk is v'samu shmiya b'nei Yisrael. The kohen, the kohanim are the tzaddikim, and they have a koyach of bracha. And v'ani avarchem, the tzaddik does his, I do back. Rabbi Kiva's addressing again. The Rambam doesn't say this to Rabbi Kiva. It's clear he's only going with das Rabbi Kiva because he says ani avarchem like Rabbi Kiva. The Rambam asks. What's the al the time in my hoyel birchas head yitzeh? This guy who I decided is not masayim anoy b'tzedek, and he's not medaktek b'mitzvahs. On this guy, the Rambam's al tatama on this guy. There's anacha that people have shaychus to a bracha. That is a fascinating part of the sugya. Like that's like the Gemara in brachas al te birchas head yit kal beinecha. That a yid is shaykh to brachas and a yid's bracha matters anacha. Where that's learned from, probably by the way, everybody agrees v'avarcha mevarchecha. That you see in the Torah, Hashem blesses those that bless Avram. There's like a hanacha that every human being has the koyach of bracha. If you bless Avram, you get blessed. Who cares that you blessed Avram? There's like a hanacha that people's ratzon atay, that people's bracha. There's like a hanacha of this sugya that a person's a bar koyach. I'm going with that hanacha from the Rambam's Al Tatama says that hanacha. But then there's a kasha if you're a person not medaktik b'mitzvahs. What shaykhs do you have to tap in? You're not close to the melech. You're like making offers. No, don't worry. Don't worry. You don't have any in with the melech. And there the Rambam says zetmiya. On that the Rambam says a person does mitzvah shenitztavu b'o. Abifart he was mitzvah, and if he does what is mitzvah, I will give through him. That's what I would say to this Rabbi Yishmael or Rabbi Kiva. But you're right. Even, you're pointing out, even in Rabbi Yishmael, even by the person who's a tzaddik, like there's a hanacha here of bracha that's incredible. That's an assumed hanacha. The whole discussion only becomes on this person who's not. You're saying even al tatame. The Rambam didn't even talk about that. There's a hanacha here that's rather remarkable. That a human being has a koyach of bracha is an amazing assumption to which we're only nispoil. But what about the person who's no shaykhis? So the person who's connected and a medaktek b'mitzvah stachavadi has a koyach of bracha. That's like a hanacha here. Al tatama on the person not, on that he says ani avarchem. So that's how I'm learning in Rabbi Kiva, the Vani Avarchem. That's what the Yerushalmi says, and this is what he's saying, Ani Avarchem. You added to me, the guy's not medaktek, mechates. The teretz is he did mashen tztav, and Hashem brings a shefa bracha me'al from his koiches, but he really was not shayach to, but he did what is nitztava. Now, if the person shayach and plugged in, he has a koyach, that's of course, yeah. Is that fair, yeah? Yeah, this sugya is from every angle. This sugya is a fascinating sugya. The bracha we're so used to it, so we don't like. Yaakov's right. The very chiddush that's like a hanacha of this whole sugya of somebody giving a bracha is unique. Everything's meant that we're learning from this. And we're called mamleches kohanim, and that's passion. The mefarshim speak out that we study the kohanim and their koiches and learn to our koiches. Many halachas that we learn to call yachid v'yachid from the koyach of the kohen. This nekuda of the Rambam, this nekuda gives a lot of chizuk to me. The second part, the second idea, that if you bench a yid, you get benched. That's Reb Nachman. It's a good thing to be aware of Reb Nachman Paskins, that if you bench a yid and the kohen, because a bench Avram, I will bench whoever benches Avram. This applies to any yid. It's a good thing to be aware of in our lives. That what brings bracha from Hashem, you mevarech a yid, which vaistais we have such a koyach of bracha. Hashem benches you for benching a yid. Now again, on the pasuk, you might have asked, that only refers to Avram, understand that Reb Nachman says that the Kohanim who bench every Yid get benched. Reb Nachman says that pasuk applies to any Yid. Is that the Nekuda because every Yid who gets benched is a benching to Avram? Maybe. Maybe if you mevarach somebody's children, that's called a bracha to the father. You gave something to the father when you give his kids. It could be that's the inyan. But that truth, that if you bench a Yid, you get benched, that's what Reb Nachman says. I did want to study and learn that nekuda. Do we have time for one more thing? Shlomo, what time is it?
If time.
Shlomo, but could you come forward and sing the Yivarechecha once? I like it. Still haven't learned that song. How are you?
Good.
Who sings this Yivarechecha?
Rami Weinberg is the name of the man.
Eretz Yisrael.
Eretz Yisrael, yeah.
I'm here at soon we'll learn it.
I don't know, yeah.
You don't know?
No, that's good, we're good. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha Yair Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasehem lecha Shalom. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha Yair Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasehem lecha Shalom. Adir adir b'marom shochen b'gvura Ata shalom v'shalom shemcha Yehi ratzon shetasim shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amcha Adir adir b'marom shochen b'gvura Ata shalom v'shalom shemcha Yehi ratzon Shetasim shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amcha
The Sifri, one of the brachas that the Kohen gives us is Yar Hashem panav elecha. Hashem should shine His face at us. V'yichuneka. What does that mean? V'yichuneka. What does that mean? Eliyahu, how do you translate V'yichuneka? So Rashi says Yitein lecha chen. Hashem should give you chen. How would you translate in English, Eliyahu, chen? Some people translate it charm. You say charm, is that what you said, yeah? Hashem should give you chen. Chen is a very cool thing to have, that people like you. A chen could be chen be'enei abriyos, people like you, is a charm. It's a very, very subtle, what causes that, but there's something called chen. 100 people can go to a job interview, and that's that one guy who has chen, and the boss, I want him. What you can't even there's a chen, people just like him, and the Kohen gives us a bracha that Hashem should Hashem should give us. The Kohen says this chen, people can have a chen that their words are listened to. People can have a chen that they're liked and wanted and chosen. There's a blessing called chen, and the Kohen says v'yichuneka yitin l'chachem, but the Sifri translate v'yichuneka differently. The Sifri says that Chain and probably V'yichuneka, I don't think they're doing Chain different, but the Sifri learns that it's not Chain to Brios. Rashi just says Yitin L'cha Chain. Here, and there's a little bit of a mashmais like the Sifri, because the Yara Hashem Panav Elecha, Hashem should shine His countenance at you. V'yichuneka, and give you Chain, says the Sifri that when you ask for things, He listens. That's how the Sifri translates Yuchaneka. So Yarash Hashem should shine at you, the Yuchaneka, and give you Chain, that He answers your requests, which is a tremendous, tremendous gift. The Kohen could give us a bracha that we should have our needs. Give Klal Yisrael. It's so interesting that the Kohen gives us a bracha that we should get the things Eliyahu we ask for. There's a tremendous, tremendous blessing, not just to have what you need, but Hashem listens to your requests. V'yichuneka. Hashem should give Klal Yisrael Chain. Yair, you have in mind that Hashem should give us Chain. It means Chain to Him that we ask for things, He listens to our requests. That's a delightful feeling that the person goes to Hashem, probably more delightful than Hashem just giving us our needs, is when we ask for it, Hashem says, sure, and that's V'yichuneka. The Sifri is Mivur, that's what the Kohen is giving us a bracha. Ha'aras parim from Hashem, Hashem favors us, V'yichuneka, and responds to our bakashas. He's Yara Hashem Panav Elecha V'yichuneka, and as such, He's focused on us and favors us. You always get what you ask for. It's like unfair. The guy who asks Hashem, and he just seems like God listens to his requests. He gets answered yes. That's V'yichuneka, that Chain. Clearly, the Sifri is learning Chain. It's l'chayra nothing to do with Chain be'enei abriyos. It's a Chain klapei Hashem. That's what the Sifri learns in the words of V'yichuneka, that the Kohen's giving a bracha, that Hashem should so favor us, Klal Yisrael, V'yichuneka, that you have a Chain, that when you ask, Hashem just says, you melt Hashem's heart. He has that Chain, and He gives our bakashas. That's a tremendous, tremendous Chain a person has. There's a Chain klapei Shmaya. And the Chain klapei Shmaya is Hashem gives Mishal Oisecha, as the Lashon is Sifri. He says, Chain klapei Shmaya is that Hashem gives the mishalois of that person. There's a certain favoritism, a certain sense, this person melts my heart. And when they ask, it just listens. That's the Chain that the Kohanim are being mivarech Klal Yisrael. Chain.
Hashem is telling them to say that.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Yeah, Hashem's telling the Kohanim to bench Klal Yisrael with Chain. And the Chain is that you will listen, you bring out from Hashem. There are people who bring out things from their dad, bring out from their mom, bring things out of people. Chain is that quality that Hashem, you ask, quote unquote, Hashem melts and just, He's asking and fills his bakashas. That's what you're Yair asking Hashem for Chain. I wanted to study a little the Saita. Maybe we'll have the beginning of next week is still coming. But we'll have a whole Shabbos together, Rebbe Ezzy. We'll try to get more. We do have to make our buses. So Yashakayach Rabbi say.